morning, guys. We have a big day, so no screwing around. Let's hit the lights and get going. Daze with Jordan the Lion begins now. That's right. Starting the day out here at the park. Oh, he's making a friend already. So today we have a pretty big vlog, and I'm going to tell you how I found out about this place. We're actually going back out to Topanga Canyon, and we're going to a pretty historical place called the THEATRICUM BOTANICUM, and it was started by the actor Will GEER, that you might know as Grandpa Walton from the Waltons. Now, how I found out about it was when my good buddy Roddy Piper died, and I went to his memorial service at the Comedy Store. There was a man that Roddy was good friends with who's a pretty well-known actor named Richard Tyson. You might know him as Buddy Revell, or I believe he was in Kindergarten Cop with Schwarzenegger as well. He was actually a very trained Shakespearean actor, and when I met him, he told me that he performs out here, and actually at that time was in a Sunday weekend Shakespearean performance, so he kind of mentioned what this was about, and I always thought it was interesting. So yesterday I called them to see if we could vlog it, and the family still owns the Botanicum. It's still in operation, and they invited me out today to meet Ellen GEER, the daughter of Will GEER. Now, Will GEER is a really interesting guy because even beyond being Grandpa Walton, he was best friends with Woody Guthrie, and was actually the person who introduced Woody Guthrie to Pete Seeger. So I guess the short of it would be that Will GEER was, when he was growing up, he wanted to be a botanist. He had this early love for botany, and then he discovered the theater. And he went into the theater, had a pretty successful career, and had it all come crashing down. He was accused of being a communist, and when they brought him in during the McCarthy era for an interview, he just refused to speak, and they put him on the Hollywood blacklist. So to the best of my understanding, in 1951 he started this theater and incorporated his love of botany as well as theater, and started performing primarily out here at this theater, and started a Shakespearean garden where every, I believe it is, we'll find out today, every plant that's ever mentioned in a Shakespearean play, he has grown out there. And in this Shakespearean garden, I believe when Will GEER passed, they scattered his ashes. So this should be very interesting to see this place. Now, hopefully, they're doing a performance this weekend that I would love to check out. Hopefully they will let us come back and film it.
Come on, Dash. Dashy. Bring it back.
Now, part of why Will GEER was blacklisted was because not only would he, well, it sounds like he was actually pretty heavy in the organizing of some of the movement, the social activism of that day, but he also wouldn't name other people that were involved. So during his blacklist, he performed out at the Botanicum, and he also would do the Stratford Festival, the Shakespearean Stratford Festival, and then eventually started getting gigs on Broadway and got back into television, where he became Grandpa Walton. I think this is a sign it's about time to take off and go to Topanga Canyon. Well, gang, we've made it. Here we are, the historic Will GEER's THEATRICUM BOTANICUM. Let's go explore, shall we? Here we're going into the small. Surrounding the outdoor theater are some California live oaks, which falls right into, like I mentioned earlier, about how Will GEER loved his botany and loved surrounding his theaters with it. So we're actually in the smaller theater now, and they were telling me they use this theater primarily for youth performances, because then their smaller voices don't have to carry as far, which I thought was great. And they actually offer classes out here because this is a non-profit organization. So if you have a 4-year-old and up, you can bring him out here and they can learn how to act the proper way. Now, this was actually donated by the Mark Taper Foundation, and they donate a lot. I believe they donated to the Cedars-Sinai Foundation and have one of the wings over at Cedars-Sinai Hospital named after them. Alright, gang, well, Ellen GEER just gave me a full tour, gave me some things to mention in here, and also helped set the record straight a little bit. And this is Ellen. That's who showed me around. And this is pretty cool. Right here on the side of the box office, they have this, and it says the plaque is made from the cedar tree that grew in the garden of Shakespeare's birthplace in Stratford. And the actual plaque itself basically says the same thing. Shakespeare's birthplace. Now we are going to see a lot of property, and just about every piece of it has a story, so you guys are going to love this. First off, what looks like what would be a little eatery, it's actually a performance space. They did a production of Haiti out here, and they had like a marching ensemble over here. Very interactive, where they could walk around through the guests of the show. How great is that? Now when you walk through there, where it leads you to is a very, very important historic cabin. This was Woody Guthrie's cabin when he lived here, when he stayed here. He was doing all those labor protests and performances, and he was a great friend of Will's, like I mentioned earlier. And so he used to entertain many people out here. And this, what they're going to do, it's all closed off now, but what they're planning on doing is hopefully they're trying to raise the money to turn this into a museum that other people can come out and visit and get to participate in the history here. Now what's cool is that here you can see legacy plaques of people that were instrumental out here. And there's Will himself. But while this first started up and Will was put on the blacklist, this is his wife, Herta Ware. Now you might recognize her. She was an actress as well in theater, but many people from my generation might know her from Cocoon. She was in Cocoon. But when they started this up, this was pretty much an open door. Anybody could come out here and visit and be a part of the performances out here. It was just a very communal place. Now we'll go to the other side and we'll get a little bit better shot of Woody Guthrie's shack here. Now every year in honor of Woody, they do a performance out here to help raise money, and it's actually happening in just a few days. So I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna vlog that and help share the experience of what you can expect if you come out here and come to something like that, as well as I just love the idea of knowing that Woody Guthrie lived out here, performed so many of those songs out here. It would be nice to hear those same songs echoing through Topanga Canyon just like they did back in the 50s. Now as we go over here, this is the other side of Woody's cabin. And I love that. I think that would be so cool to have this a historical landmark. Something that, you know, anybody could come visit, people like me that are just music history fanatics. Now what they do with this is not only just a place to come see Shakespeare and great plays and great music and everything in the canyon, but this is a workspace for kids. They try and spread the love of theater out here. So this is the main theater. This is what we came to see. And what they were telling me is that every May for a few weeks, they have every day where they're doing Shakespearean performances open to kids, and they bring kids in here and let them not only watch it, but they also, look, we're backstage, but they also make a dozen or so participate in it. Check that out. There's the stage. Now, much like Shakespeare, everything here has a purpose, and it also has a story. Now, these benches, I said, are these the original benches? And she said, no, actually, when Papa was alive, there were railroad stakes, and since he was into the botany, he was growing kind of like different weird wild plants and things out here, so you would kind of just sit in between those spikes and nestle up to the foliage around you. But she said that there was a guy that used to come around here who was helping a group of men with sobriety. And so he was actually who put in all these benches. He had all those guys come, and instead of drinking, they would put their time into this. Now, what else I was told was that this stage was built by the fathers of the preschool, and said that there was a guy that lived up in the canyon who was deciding to get out of town and donated all this wood to them. Isn't that great? Now, like I said, since this is Shakespeare, everything has a purpose. So a lot of these staircases will lead to where you can get on top of the buildings or in various places. You can see, I was told that during King Lear, Ellen herself was performing up on the roof of this, and there you can see you can get up there. The stairs go all the way around to where you can get on top of the stage manager's building, and they also have a garden at the very top of there as well. So we were basically told that we could go look around and explore and give you guys a feel of what it's like to be here. Now, how this all came about, like I mentioned, was that Will GEER was blacklisted, and to read it in history online, it really paints him to be a full-blown communist. And so how I started the video, I said it sounds like he was. When I asked Ellen, she said, no, not at all. She goes, my father couldn't sit through any kind of meeting. She said he was basically her mother, Herta's mother, was a big figure in the early Labor Party. And so they just tied Will to that, and when he went in for the inquest, he just pled the fifth. He didn't want to rat out anybody, he didn't want to give any information, and they used that against him to blacklist him. So she said he was never a part of that party at all. He did stand up for the little man, and so, you know, she said he was just a guy that everybody liked to claim. Everybody liked him, and they just wanted him to be a part of their group. Now, one of the things I asked was, I said, so had the family already bought the property before or after he was blacklisted? And what I was told was that Herta had a suspicion that this was going to happen. She knew this was going to happen, so they bought the property before it happened. And that way, they already had it, and once he was blacklisted, they had, you know, at least this place to perform and for the family to live at. The family home is still here. There's a Shakespeare Garden here, and this is the ramp that in King Lear you would go up to get on the roof. Now this is the, if you're ever wondering what the back of a performance space looks like, this is it. You can see there's part of the scenery here. Look at how the stairs go all the way up and around. There's a heavenly garden up there we're going to go check out. Now, certain times of the year, depending on the weather, there's a creek that flows through here. And so, if you come to a performance, it's very likely you might see that creek going actually under the stage over here. And they said that they have had flooding. If you remember in yesterday's vlog, I told you that that house that Alan Wilson died behind, that had flooded out. Well, they said this is flooded, and it even floods the stage sometimes. See, the creek would go under there. Look at that. Now, how this theater kind of stays afloat is by all the performances and people paying to come see them, but they also do fundraisers. And one of the interesting stories that I was told was at one point they were really out of money and they didn't know what they were going to do, and they actually, some of the local musicians came and put on a benefit, and they said that Billy Preston lived right up the hill and came down and put on one of the most mesmerizing performances. Said that it was just hard to take your eyes off it, but they said like Burl Ives and people like that that lived up here would donate their time and donate money to help keep this afloat. So that's an ongoing thing. If you're ever looking for a good cause to help fund, you're looking at it. I mean, keeping this around, I was told in this Woody Guthrie performance this weekend, they will have the 4th generation of GEER. Their granddaughter will be performing in that. How interesting. 4 generations of the family have been here. They've performed here. They still run it. They still live on the grounds. I mean, it is just, it's what you dream of when you see a place like this. You're like, God, I wish the family cared enough to keep this alive forever. Well, they do. Now, from all the stories that Ellen was telling me, you know, her parents were really in love and they really got along great. And I said, you know, I read that when they got a divorce, they were still really great friends. And she said, yeah, they were, and they're both buried here. Their ashes are both here. And said that it was really the blacklist. That was just a hard time to keep it all together. But that was the goal. She said when that happened, the goal was just to keep the family together. So let's go up to the garden up here. That doesn't pertain to us. Well, not today anyway. One of the great things about this place is that you'll notice there's all kinds of little like turn-offs and they use all that. They have those little classes and workshops out here up here. And there are pretty much trails that go everywhere. The family owns a huge chunk of this property. Which is really great because then you never have to worry about complaints from neighbors or anything like that. A little bit of solitude for the art that's going on here. And see, it keeps going and going and going all the way up. Now I just followed this trail all the way up. Didn't think there would be much of a reason. And then I found this at the top and this. And this guy too, which is why I always explore. Now we'll head back down. We have a lot more to see. Get one last good look at the theater. We'll see that in a couple of days when the live show's lighting up that stage. Now, let's head out. I want to show you a few more things. Now here, as you're walking in, you can see there are memorial plaques for various people, and one of them happens to be the man whose name adorns the sign here, Will GEER, as well as her to wear. Look at that. You can tell there is like a heart, a kind of a faded heart there for the couple. Now, as we head out of here, isn't that cool that they bring in all those kids and let them experience Shakespeare? Now here's the other side of the Woody Guthrie cabin. Like I mentioned, Richard Tyson from 3 O'Clock High was who originally told me about this place, and this is one of the things he mentioned. He said, oh yeah, Woody Guthrie used to hang out there, and they have his place is still out there. So check this out on the stairs going up. Woody Guthrie, his name's on there. It says Topanga, Ryan, Robert, Woody Guthrie. Here's Will GEER right here. And they continue to go up, and the top one says love. I mean, how cool is this to get to explore this? And I mean, I don't know if you know how important that really is, to know that Woody Guthrie and Pete Seeger and people like that were out here playing. Without them, there's probably no Bob Dylan. As well as probably no one speaking up for the little man during that time of kind of the foundation of the labor unions is basically what it was, feeling that the workers just weren't getting a fair shake. Now this bridge has a funny story. Well, the first part of the story is not funny. Where this, if you see right underneath the bridge, there's a little theater. That theater was built by a man who donated his time. He lost his daughter and wanted to put his efforts into something that would benefit kids, so he helped build this stage and this little, like I said, they have these little theaters all over the place. In fact, there's another little one over there, a little workspace, and then we'll come over to here in a little bit. I'll explain that. So where this bridge came from, he built this bridge because they had all that flooding that occasionally would happen, and it goes right through here, obviously. Literally right through the stage over here, and right under the main stage that we just walked through. One of the times that happened, Herta couldn't get to their house, which was over here. So they had to basically attach a rope to, I don't know how they did it, they had to attach a rope and they had to like bring her across by rope. And so they realized, you know, maybe it's a better idea to have a bridge here instead of having to have her like swinging across the creek on a rope. So let's follow this. And this garden over here is Haskell Wexler was a friend of the family, and his mother, when she passed away, they built this for her, and now her and Haskell are both gone, but they, you know, obviously have kept the garden in their memory. Very classy, right? Very, very classy. Now when we leave the Wexler garden over here, we'll save what's over here towards the end. Look at all these beautiful flowers out here. So now we're walking out here a little further. This is where the employees park, and they also, once again, someone volunteered their time, someone from the neighborhood, and built them a little amphitheater right here for them to also host kids. And so they want to add on to this and kind of enclose it a little bit more, make it a little bit more of a, you know, just a little bit more enclosed feel. But how great is that so many people come out here and donate their time. And then this trail goes on, and I said, you know, do you own the property next door? And she said, no, but we would love to buy it if we could. Now here is the family home. This is where they moved into in the 50s during the blacklist. Lived out here the whole time. Now they had different properties, like one in Connecticut and other places, but this is like truly where they bonded, because they had to fight through that blacklist. And some of the family members still live there today, so if you come out here, don't bother them, but that is the historic original house. Now when you turn around, this is Herta Ware's garden. This was where she liked to spend her time, and that was her swing. They said that her swing has lasted since her death, and it will continue to sit there until something happens where it can't sit there anymore. She used to sit out there, and they actually gave me a book of, she kept a notebook about her life, and they kind of turned it into like a pamphlet, so I got sent home with one of those, which is great. And just to think, you know, Woody Guthrie would have been out here playing. Like, they would have those meetings out here. They were telling me, like, right out here. So when Ellen and her father would go around doing performances, because Ellen was an actress as well, she was telling me she was on the Jimmy Stewart show. Look at this. Said that when they would go various places, they would try and start what were called Shakespeare Gardens. And the Shakespeare Garden was what Will decided he would find every plant that was mentioned in a Shakespearean play, and he wanted a garden with that. And so that's what this is. Now they were telling me that they're right now in the process of basically doing this, where they are identifying exactly what the plant is, and then below it, it has what Shakespeare it was from. So that's the strawberry, and it says, "I saw good strawberries in your garden there," from Richard III. And they're gonna do that. They're gonna make those little signs for everything in here. I was walking around a little bit ago, and I saw a couple of others, so as I see them, I'll point them out to you. Now this was like a really great meditation place for Will, and this is where he's buried. This is his final resting place. Right over here, this redbud tree right here, his ashes are beneath that. They said, no plaque, no nothing. He wouldn't have wanted a big deal made about it. But when he passed away, they knew he'd want to be here. And so literally right there is where he is. Now, a local artist loved this place and made a amazingly realistic bust. Actually, let's walk through here first. See if there are any of the placards in here. Forget where I saw them, but I will, like I said, when I come across the other ones I noticed, I will show you. Again, another little theater performance space over here. I think we're up to like 6 or 7 that we've counted now so far. Can't complain about that. Hey, that's the way a nonprofit should be. They should use, I mean, what they're doing here, they're using every piece of space to help the cause. Now here is the bust that artist who never met Will GEER made, and it's so lifelike and so realistic. They love it. They said now it's starting to show a little bit of age and wear, so they're hoping to raise some funds to help restore it. And they love it. Ellen was telling me, she said it just captures Papa so well. Just everything about his spirit and just his love for life. And she said he loved everything around him. She said he would just, you know, he would just like, to the point of like hugging a tree. He just loved life. He just loved the living life. And let's give the artist a little bit of credit here. Pretty cool. Now, like I said, they're contemplating the idea of making this kind of a museum of sorts, to where people could come out here and tour it and experience it. And I said, I 100% agree. I think you should absolutely have a guided tour, because just the things that they were telling me and pointing out to me when we were walking around, I just said, that's so, I was almost worried I was gonna forget stuff that was that cool. Here's one. Lily. Lilies that fester smell far worse than weeds. Oh excellence, I love long life better than figs. Antony and Cleopatra. And Ellen also told me that when her and her father would go out and do performances, you know, everywhere, they would try and start these gardens. So it's really cool to know this is not the one and only garden that they did. They used to do this a lot. There's rosemary. That's for remembrance. Pray you, love, remember, Ophelia. Well, I think I want to go back to the theater, because I just remembered something that I saw that I laughed about, and I want to show you guys. Thank you, Mr. GEER, for everything you've done. This place is a true legacy. It's almost like, who cares what movies and things like that you did when you leave something that has now spanned 4 generations that people can come out and be entertained by all the time. And they have the Woody Guthrie place completely surrounded. I didn't want to ask if I could go in or anything like that. I just figured, you know, when they get it open, that's when we'll do it. We'll save that for another vlog. Lowell George. You guys know who Lowell George is. For one thing, I wanted to show you this plaque. Remember I mentioned when we were up here that the stage was built by the preschoolers' parents? But what I thought would be cool or fun to kind of almost end on was when I was walking up here earlier with Ellen. I looked down and I go, oh cool, you even have the trap door. She goes, hey, can't do Hamlet without the grave. Yeah, this place is great. So many great performances here over the years. I mean, we're talking since 1951. Literally, if this place could talk, the stories it could tell. When Will GEER passed away, he was still on the Waltons, and they had to write him out of the show, and they mourned him in the following season. And when Will passed, many of his friends came out and celebrated his life out there at the Shakespeare Garden, and they sang "This Land Is Your Land," as well as recited Robert Frost poems. Well, we're home, and look at all the literature they sent me home with. This is about the school programs and various different youth programs that they offer, but this is the one that I'm really excited to read, because this is Will GEER's wife putting her thoughts into a notebook and they published it. So, and then this is kind of the history on the Botanicum, which is cool because when I looked through a little bit of it, you could see various things that are coming up and everything. And then through this one, when you look through it, there's various examples of the history of the theater, as well as like them building it and various people that are out there performing. There's Woody, of course. And we got some mail. Thank you. Ashley Moreno sent me a St. Christopher medal, which is great. Even though somebody else sent me one, I'm sure at some point I will switch, and so I will keep this one and use it next time. And Julie and Robbie the Dashin sent Jaw some food, some Caesar food. He should be stocked up for quite a while now. It says, "Hi Jaw, take care of Jordan. May you have a full tummy and plenty of fun times at the dog park." So nice of both of you. Thank you, everyone. Well, good night, Lionhearts. Hope you guys enjoyed getting to see Will Geer's dream. It's unfortunate how it started, but I guess everything happens for a reason, and in the end, look at what's there because of it. Thank you to the GEER family for showing me around, taking your time, sharing your family history with me. I will be back in a couple of days. Thank you all for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this. We will see you all later. Have a great night, and goodbye.
Thank you.